morning and welcome everyone to DRS's latest educational offering. Today's topics are registering a new business and sales and use taxes. I am Catherine Zandri, Revenue Examiner with the Taxpayer Services Division. My colleagues, Ida Thompson, Kelly McLaughlin, Randy Hariprasad, and I will be presenting this morning. And I would be remiss if I didn't extend a thank you on behalf of the group to Suzanne Neefus working her magic behind the scenes for each of us today. Thank you, Suzanne. First, I must clarify that this presentation is intended to provide general information for taxpayers and tax practitioners. It is not intended to explain in-depth current department policy or practice, nor is it intended to explain in-depth current department, is it intended to supersede, alter, or otherwise change provisions of the Connecticut general statutes, regulations, department rulings, or tax guidance. And now that I've repeated myself, we've gotten the formalities behind us, let's begin. Starting a new business can be both exciting and challenging. You may be wondering, what type of business structure should I choose? What are my filing requirements with DRS, if any? What if I'm considering buying an existing business? What will this mean as far as risk to me? Well, we will cover these topics and more in this presentation today. To help start you on the road to success, DRS provides a variety of tutorials and educational resources available on its website. You can see here that we have our website address. Visit us as portal.ct.gov/DRS. And you will find the link for under most popular, MyConnect, file, pay, and register taxes online. You will scroll down a bit, you'll find the Taxpayer Education Center. And if you click on the For Businesses offering, you will be taken to the New Business Resource Center link, as well as all the different tax types for businesses. So please visit our website often, and you will find through the Taxpayer Education Center, this webinar that is being recorded today will be captioned and available for viewing in approximately 1 week's time, as well as past webinars. And my colleague, Kelly, will give you a brief tour of the Taxpayer Education Center a bit later on in the presentation. On this slide, you'll see that businesses are now required to register with DRS using the online registration application portal, MyConnect. The registration process is clear, simple, and step-based. And you can see on this panel, the businesses. There are 3 panels on the homepage of MyConnect: businesses, individuals, and additional resources. And my colleague, Randy Hariprasad, will walk you through the registration process step by step. The registration link is on the businesses panel on this screen. Now, MyConnect is the DRS online portal where you can view and make changes to your business accounts, file and amend returns, make payments, receive online filing reminders, communicate with DRS 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and so much more. Now, it's also mobile device friendly, which is a plus. Remember, visit our website often for all the latest updates and webinars that we're offering. Now, to complete the MyConnect business tax registration application, DRS is going to need your Federal Employer Identification Number, also known as an FEIN or EIN of the business. Now, how do you obtain that? You can go to the IRS website at www.irs.gov, and it's free. In the search box on the IRS website, you can type in Apply for EIN or FEIN. Now, if you're registering as a sole proprietorship, we're going to need the Social Security number of the sole proprietor. We're going to ask for the legal name of the business. And if you are a sole proprietorship, the legal name of the business will be your first and last name. If the business is using a DBA, which stands for doing business as, or trade name, which oftentimes sole proprietors do use a DBA or trade name, we're going to need that name also. For example, if you are Peter Smith and you are a landscaping business, and if you are advertising your business, well, if you were to advertise as Peter Smith, they wouldn't know what type of business you are or what service you are offering. And of course, landscaping or lawn service, cutting grass, weeding, yard cleaning is taxable. Therefore, you would probably use the DBA or trade name Peter's Lawn Service or Peter's Yard Service. So that would be your DBA or trade name. We would, of course, need the business address and payment if you were registering for sales tax or any other type of tax that carries with it a permit or license fee. We would require the names and Social Security numbers of responsible owners and officers as well. You can obtain your sales and use tax permit using MyConnect. It will carry with it a $100 registration fee for the permit. And if you are registering for another tax type, say for instance tobacco, selling tobacco products or cigarettes, there will also be additional fees for those permits as well. There is no cost if you are sending payment in direct payment form. That means that the payment is coming from your checking or savings account. We do allow credit card payments. However, we do use a third-party vendor, and they will charge you a $3.95 convenience fee for using the credit card as payment. You cannot assign or transfer your you cannot assign or transfer your permit to anyone else. And each location requires its own permit. For instance, if you're going to be operating a food cart or a food truck, and you're going to have two carts, now that the warm weather is here and there are some events outdoors, and you're going to park two trucks and operate two carts, you're going to need a sales tax permit for each one of those vehicles or carts. So each will carry with it a $100 permit. You'll have to register each one of those carts or trucks or vehicles. And if you close or discontinue the business, you must file a final sales and use tax return and surrender the permit for that location to DRS. If you do close the sales and use tax permit for that location and decide to open it a few months later, you will have to pay the $100 sales tax permit fee once again. Now, the first step in starting a new business is to choose the type of business structure or organization that best fits your operation. And there are several structures or types to choose from. Each has its own advantage and disadvantage, as well as tax benefits or consequences. A sole proprietorship reports its income earned on their individual tax return, and that's due by April 15th. A partnership files Form CT 1065 1120 SI, Connecticut Composite Income Tax Return. A corporation, if federally taxed as a C Corp, must file Form CT 1120. Now we also have limited liability partnership, and an LLP is generally a partner of an LLP is generally not liable for any debts or obligations of the partnership or another partner or partners. Of course, many people are familiar with hearing LLC or limited liability company, including a single member. So there can be a single member LLC or a multi-member LLC. It is an entity created under state law with a legal existence separate and apart from its members. It can be taxed as a partnership or an S corporation, and they too file a CT 1065 1120 SI, a composite income tax return. And a nonprofit entity is any social, civil, religious, political subdivision, or educational organization that has been federally recognized, thus qualifying them to be exempt from Connecticut sales and use tax. Now, DRS cannot advise you on how to structure your business. You may want to consult an accountant, an attorney, or an IRS authorized tax advisor, commonly referred to as an enrolled agent, for assistance on this important matter. And DRS has a famed publication titled Getting Started in Business. It's an excellent resource guide developed specifically as an educational tool for new businesses. It explains the different business structures, as we have summarized here, as well as the filing and reporting requirements for each. Now, at this time, I'd like to invite my colleague, Ida, to discuss how to minimize the potential risk of purchasing an ongoing or existing business, along with sales and use tax requirements for new businesses. Ida, would you like to take it from here?
Sure. Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Ida Thompson, and I am a revenue examiner. Now, let's talk about when someone is purchasing an ongoing business, meaning a business that's already in existence. First, the sales and use tax permit cannot be transferred from the seller to the buyer. The new owner must obtain their own sales and use tax permit when they purchase the business. Now, the purchaser of a business is considered the successor to the business. And if you purchase a business or its inventory, you may be personally responsible for the previous owner's outstanding tax balances owed to DRS if you do not take precautions. Since tax records are confidential in nature, there is no obvious means available for the public to research whether the business they are buying has outstanding tax liability without the assistance of DRS. And for that reason, it is highly recommended that you request a tax clearance certificate by submitting a completed Form AU-866, which is the form used to request for a tax clearance certificate. There is no cost associated with requesting the certificate, but the form should be submitted 90 days before the purchase is finalized. Now, within 60 days of receiving the form, DRS will issue a tax clearance certificate or escrow letter. And if DRS does not issue either the tax clearance certificate or escrow letter within the 60 days period, the buyer is released from any obligation to withhold from the purchase price any taxes owed and unpaid to DRS by the seller at the time of the purchase. Now, additional information on this topic of successor liability can be found in Information Publication 2018-10, Successor Liability and Request for Tax Clearance Certificate. Now, let's dive into sales tax. If registered for sales and use tax, the business acts as an agent of the state at the point of sale, thereby collecting tax on behalf of Connecticut taxpayers. Now, for the period in which a sale occurred and Connecticut sales tax was collected, you must file and pay the sales tax electronically to DRS on or before the due date of the return, and you are required to file even if you have no sales. If a sale is subject to Connecticut sales tax and it is not collected at the time of the sale, the business is then liable for the sales and use tax charge and must remit the tax from its own funds when filing the sales and use tax return. Sales tax collected should be kept separate from the operating cash of a business. And as a precautionary measure, it is recommended that all sales tax collected be deposited and housed in its own account from which to withdraw from when filing the sales and use tax return. Now, if the sales and use tax return is filed late, and a payment of tax is due, you will be subject to penalty and interest. A penalty of 15% of the tax due, or $50, whichever is greater, will be assessed plus 1% interest per month on the outstanding balance. So you should file those returns and make the payments on time to avoid penalties and interest. Now, someone may want to know who must obtain a sales and use tax permit from the IRS. Well, you must obtain a permit before making any sales if you're going to sell, rent, or lease goods, sell a taxable service, or operate a hotel, motel, lodging house, or bed and breakfast establishment in Connecticut. The requirement to obtain a sales and use tax permit applies to individuals, partnerships, corporations, manufacturers and wholesalers, as well as retailers, building contractors and subcontractors prior to providing any services, even if the services are not taxable or if the contract is with a tax-exempt entity. Now, these rules do not apply to casual sales or isolated sales, which are infrequent sales of a non-recurring nature made by a person who is not in the business of selling the item or items they are selling. For example, a hair salon is going out of business, and the business owner is liquidating inventory, selling its cash registers, display cases, and salon chairs. The activity will be considered a casual or isolated sale because the hair salon is not in the business of selling cash registers and fixtures. Therefore, is not required to obtain a sales and use tax permit in that case. Also, you must obtain a sales and use tax permit even if you will only be making sales in Connecticut for one day. It could be at a flea market, craft or antique show, or fair, and you must display the sales and use tax permit prominently at your booth or table. Now, out-of-state sellers who make 200 or more retail sales into Connecticut and have at least $100,000 in gross receipts from retail sales into Connecticut must obtain a sales and use tax permit to collect sales tax. Marketplace facilitators and marketplace sellers may be required to obtain a sales and use tax permit. Now, someone may be wondering, who is a marketplace seller? A marketplace seller is any person who has an agreement with a marketplace facilitator regarding retail sales of such person, regardless of whether or not such seller already has or is required to have a Connecticut sales and use tax permit from the IRS. Now, a marketplace facilitator is any person who facilitated retail sales of at least $250,000 during the prior 12-month period by providing a forum that lists or advertises tangible personal property subject to sales and use taxes or taxable services, including digital goods for sale by marketplace sellers. Directly or indirectly, through agreements or arrangements with third parties, collect receipts from the customer and remit payments to the marketplace seller, and receives compensation or other consideration for its services. Now, marketplace facilitators are organizations such as Amazon, eBay, Etsy, among others. Now, information on this topic can be found on OCG-8, Office of the Commissioner Guidance regarding marketplace facilitators and marketplace sellers. Now, Connecticut sales or use tax applies to any transaction, whether title to the goods being sold transfers from the seller to the buyer in Connecticut. And most of us are familiar with the 6.35% general tax rate commonly charged when buying taxable goods. Now, Connecticut also has special sales tax rates that applies to certain sales. 1% on the sale of computer and data processing services, 2.99% for the sales of vessels, motors for vessels, and trailers used for transporting vessels, 4.5% on the sale of a motor vehicle to a non-resident member or a member and his or her spouse jointly of the Armed Forces of the United States stationed on full-time active duty in Connecticut. And for information on these tax rates, please review SN 2019-8, Sales and Use Taxes on Digital Goods and Canned or Pre-written Software, IP 2021-10, Q&A on Purchases of Vessels, PS 2001-4, Sales of Motor Vehicles to Non-Resident Military Personnel, and Joint Sales of Motor Vehicles to Non-Resident Military Personnel and their spouses. 7.35% applies to meals and beverages, and 7.75% applies to most motor vehicles with a sales price of more than $50,000, items of jewelry, whether real or imitation, with a sales price of more than $5,000, and articles of clothing or footwear intended to be worn on about the human body, or a handbag, luggage, umbrella, wallet, or a watch with a sales price of more than $1,000. Now, 9.35% applies to the rental or leasing of a passenger motor vehicle for a period of 30 consecutive calendar days or less. For additional information on the special sales and use tax rates, you can also review PS 2002-2, Sales and Use Taxes on Meals, SN 2011-10, Sales and Use Tax Changes Affecting Motor Vehicle Dealers, and IP 2018-5, Getting Started in Business, as mentioned earlier. Now, use tax is the tax that you are required to pay when you use taxable goods or services in Connecticut on which you did not pay sales tax to a retailer. The use tax is complementary to the sales tax. And if you paid no tax because the purchase was made from an out-of-state internet or mail order company that did not collect tax, the use tax due is equal to the Connecticut sales tax on the sale as if it occurred in Connecticut. Now, use tax applies to any purchases of taxable goods and services made by a business except those made for resale. The tax applies to furnitures, equipments, instruments, machines, computers, office supplies, books, among others. Now, to learn more about the use tax, please review Information Publication 2020-10, Q&A on the Connecticut Individual Use Tax. Now, to report use tax, you will file Form OS 114, Connecticut Sales and Use Tax Return, if you have sales tax permit. If you made purchases as an individual and not in connection with a business, then file Form OP 186, Connecticut Individual Use Tax Return, or report the use tax on your Connecticut Resident Income Tax Return on Schedule 4 or Schedule 3 on the non-resident part-year resident return. Now, failure to file a use tax return and to remit use tax due will subject you to a 10% penalty of the total use tax due, plus a 1% interest per month or a fraction of a month. Now, DRS will assess a penalty for failure to obtain or renew a seller's sales and use tax permit while conducting sales in Connecticut. And it's $250 for the first day without a valid sales and use tax permit, and $100 a day for each day that follows. Now, the sales and use tax permit expires every 2 years from the date issued. And as the 2 years expiration date nears, DRS will automatically begin the renewal process, providing all required sales and use tax returns have been filed and no outstanding tax liabilities of any type are owed to DRS by the business. I will now hand it over to you, Randy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ada. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Randy Hariprasad, and I'm here working the electronic filing. And today you heard all about MyConnect, and you heard about the different sales tax and the different rates, and the new business, all about new businesses. And today I'll show you how to complete your registration application online and how to get into MyConnect, how easy it is. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. All right, so there's a few ways that you can get to MyConnect. You can get to MyConnect that simply go to Google and just type in MyConnect Connecticut Revenue Services, and this will bring you right into MyConnect. Or you can go to portal.ct.gov/DRS, and once you're on the DRS homepage, under the most popular, you will select the link MyConnect File Pay Register Taxes Online, and this will take you into MyConnect. So now I'm going to go over into MyConnect, and as you can see, this is the MyConnect homepage. And the first thing that we will do, I will show you how to for a new business need a CT registration number. For those of you here today that you need to register for the application online, this is what you're going to do. So on MyConnect, under the business panel, there is a hyperlink here that says new business need a CT registration number. And once I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and we'll go through this real quick, and we'll go ahead and register for a sales tax, and I'll show you how easy it is to go through the process. So now, once you're going through this, I just wanted to point out a few things here. We do have a save draft feature because it's just it can be a time-consuming and long application. But however, if you don't have the time to complete the application at the same time and you don't have all that information, don't worry. You're not losing any data or anything like that. You just simply click on the save draft feature, and this will save your registration application for 30 business days in the system. Before the end of 30 business days, you will receive an email, the email that you provided, and will tell you that, hey, Randy, would you like to continue with your application, or would you like to just, do nothing, and then the system will automatically delete it from the system. All right. So first thing is reason for registering. I'm going to select requesting a Connecticut registration number, and now we'll go ahead and click on that. And now I'm going to go to enter the business information. So I'm just going to enter the customer type. We'll go ahead today and we'll do sole prop. And there's some information to enter. You enter your social. Everything looks good. Actually, okay. So then I'm going to go next, and then it says enter my business name. I'm going to enter all that information in here and just fill out the required fields. We need to verify the address, of course, just to make sure the department have your valid address in here. And then the home address is the same as the mailing address. And I'm going to say yes to that. And now I'm going to enter my business bank name. Sales. And this is where I need to select NAICS code for my business. So there's green area here. I'm just going to click on the search, and then I'm going to enter, what is my business? So I'm going to go ahead and just type in, sales, and see what comes up. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look for one that closest to match my business. So I'm going to do the family clothing store. So I'm going to go ahead and select family clothing store. There's a little description here on the NAICS code. Read about family clothing store. I'm going to say yes, this is my business, what it looks like, and now I'm going to go ahead and click next. So now here's the option. Let's say for example, like right now, I just have like a small store. I don't have employees, but I will show you later on once we get into MyConnect how to get in there, to maintain your account, and how to add additional tax types and accounts. For now, I'm going to say no to this. I don't have any employees right now. I'm the only one that's running the show. So I'm going to go ahead and get to the next screen, which it's on my screen right now. And the first thing I'm going to select is the sales and use. And I'm going to go ahead and say, do you sell? Yep. And I'm going to say yes to this. And all the other ones, I'm going to say no. And then I'm going to put a start date in there. All right, once I enter all that information, I'm going to go ahead and click next. Actually, I wanted to do a start date of April 1st and click next. Now, there are all different tax types in here, but I'm only focusing on sales and use tax for this demo, and that's what I need to register for my business. So, of course, there's a $100 fee when you're registering for sales and use tax. And as you can see on my screen here, so the next step, it will bring me to, it's not going to bring me to pay the fee yet. I do have to create a username and password, and I'll do this quickly here. And enter my email address. Please note the security requirements, the password requirements on the right side of the screen. Okay, so now I get everything. Everything looks good, and I'm going to go ahead and click next. And now it's going to bring me to pay the $100. I do have the option of paying the $100 from my bank account, which is free. You don't have to pay any fee or anything like that. But if you choose credit card, you can do so. But the credit card company is going to charge you a fee for processing that $100, and it will tell you that fee as well once you click on the credit card. For this demo purposes, I'm going to go ahead and select bank account, click next. And now it brings me to my bank account information here. And it's already pre-filled $100 for me. I just need to confirm the $100. And then I'll select my payment type, which is direct payment. And once I enter my routing number, you can see the bank name shows up. So I know, yes, Certified Federal Credit Union is my bank. And now I'm going to go ahead and enter the account number. I'm just going to confirm the account number because we want to, make sure that your $100 comes out and you get your permit and everything is good. I'm going to select checking and click next. And now I'm on the confirm submission page. And here it says enter your signature, but I'm going to simply enter my name. And then I'm going to go ahead and click submit. All right, once I click submit, I got a confirmation number that I completed my registration application. I paid my $100 and everything looks good. We also provide a printable view for you. And let's say the printable view will open up in a PDF. Let's say if you walk away and for some reason you didn't get the temporary permit on the printable view, because this is a temporary permit, you can use this until you receive the actual blue permit in the mail. It will tell you here your temporary permit will expire 5/7/2025, and it tells you all the different tax types or whatever you register for. It will tell you your filing frequency. So there's a lot of information on this piece of document. But don't worry, if let's say for example, if you walk away from your computer shut down for some reason, you can always go back and retrieve it by go under retrieving your registration application on MyConnect, and you should be able to pull up a copy of this PDF again. So I'm just going to close this out for now, and I'm going to return back over to the MyConnect summary screen. I mean, the MyConnect homepage. All right, so I'm all done registering for my registration application. You can see how easy that is. So once you're done with that, now you're ready to log into MyConnect because you have a username and password. For those of you who already did all of this, you have a registration application, and you come into My Connect, there's a few things I do wanted to point out. Let's say, for example, if you were here in the last 6 months and you had a username and password, or you have a username and password, and you forget your username and password, what you need to do is you click on forget username and password, and you'll provide that information that we asked. For example, you're going to enter the username. If you forget your password, you're going to enter the username. We will send you a temporary link, that the email address that you provided. If you forget your username, you will enter the email address, and we will provide you with your username. So it's that easy to retrieve your username and password on My Connect. Before I log in, I do wanted to point out some, additional feature that we do have here, some additional resources. Please check it out when you have some time. There's a new business portal here. We are all talking about new businesses today. Very exciting. So check this out. There's a lot of information on here on the DRS website. We have a lot of tutorials, how to create a username, password, how to forget password, how to file sales tax, and there's a lot of information. Find a submission, so you can always earlier I said to get a copy of your temporary permit. If you can come back here and click on find a submission, you should be able to get a copy of your temporary permit. All right, so now we are ready to log in into My Connect. I'm going to enter my username, enter my password. Everything looks good. And the first screen I get to is a two-factor authentication screen, two-step verification. So this is just like an extra layer of security on your account. So what you can do if you like, you can set it up by adding a phone number or add an email or an authentication app on your cell phone. But you don't have to set it up now. You can set it up later. That's why we have that disable button on the bottom of the screen. I'll make that screen a little bigger so you can see. So right now I'm going to go ahead and click on disable. Click yes, and this will bring me into My Connect. And as you can see, this is how the My Connect screen looks like. I just registered for my business. I'm excited. I just log in with my username and password. Upper left side, it says get my name, my address here. Upper right side, it says welcome. And then, for example, we have the manage my profile. There's a lot of information here that you can do, updating your email address, your name, security questions, and password, or update your phone number. I'm going to return back over to the summary screen. And as you can see here now, we have the sales and use tax, and that's what I register for. As you can see, I'm a monthly filer. It tells me here. And my next tax is due on June 2nd of 2025. And I have that file now link here. If I would like to, for example, if I would like to amend the return, you will click on the view file returns and view period details, and then you should be able to see any because I just registered, I don't have any return to amend. But if you like to amend the return in the future, that's what you will click on, and you should be able to get the amend option to amend your return. If you like to make a payment, you can do so by clicking on make a payment hyperlink, and you should be able to make a payment. As you can see, my $100 is here that I just made as a credit in the system. So that's a good thing. I know that I will get my blue permit in the mail soon. Before I get into the return real quick here, I do wanted to point out some important feature that we do have on My Connect. For example, we have the Action Center. Please check out the Action Center when you have time. This is where we correspond with you. Like, for example, if there's a return is due 5 days or 15 days overdue, you will get it in the Action Center. Any letters or anything we sent will be in the Action Center. If I click on the More tab, very important, there's a submission. So, like, for example, if you're looking for a prior return or maintain payments and return, you will click on Submission. Under the taxpayer updates. So earlier when I was registering my business for my sales tax, I said later on, like down the road, if I need employees for my clothing store, I can do so. And how to do that? You're not going to come back and register for a whole brand new registration application. You would log into My Connect, and then on this panel right here, you will click on add additional accounts and location. And this is where you will add your, you will go through with the process. I don't want to take your time today to go through the process, but you will go through the process to add your withholding because now you have employees. And that's how you will maintain your account in My Connect. Manage names and addresses. These are done instantly, so you can make any updates. You can close accounts, reopen accounts. You can correspond with the department securely. You can send a message, send attachment. You can view letters. You can request a good business status letter in MyConnect as well. And there's a lot of more information. I don't want to take all your time and go through them. If you have a lost or stolen refund, you can do so by submitting a request, a penalty waiver, and there's a lot more in here. So now I'm going to return back over to my summary screen here. And we're going to go ahead and file a sales and use tax for the first time. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my file now, and this will bring me into to select my tax rates. Earlier, my colleague, they were explaining the different tax rates. So here are the tax rates. The first one is general sales, 6.35, meal, 7.35, luxury, 7.75, and the rental passengers or motor vehicle, 9.35. So for today's demo purposes, I am 6.35 general sales. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And again, we make it so convenient for you. Like if you're filing the sales tax on MyConnect and you don't have all that information to enter into the return, don't worry. We have that save draft feature again here. You click on the save draft, and this will save your return for 30 business days. You can come back anytime and continue the filing. Just make sure that you remember to save the draft before you close out MyConnect. All right, so now I select 6.35. I'm going to come into the return here. The first line says gross receipts from sales of goods. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that dollar amount in here. Everything looks good, and now I do have deductions. And to enter deductions, there's a question here: do you have any deductions to enter? And I will go ahead and say yes. And once I click on the next page, I will have my deductions list. All I simply do is just put my cursor in here, and this will pull up all the different deduction lines here. It starts from line 15 all the way down to A, B, and C. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select line 15, sales for resales, for my deduction, and I'm going to go ahead and enter that dollar amount in here. Once I enter that dollar amount, everything looks good. It will do the calculation for me. So the good thing about MyConnect is you enter the required fields, and we do all the calculations for you. You don't have to sit there with a calculator and calculate each field, so which is a very good thing. So now I enter all that information, as you can see here, the general sales summary, everything looks good, deductions enter, amount of tax due, and going through the screen, if you scroll to the top of the screen, it will show you the balance due as well, going through the screen. All right, so everything looks good. Here is a required questions. Are you claiming film production tax credit? I'm going to say no to that. And that tells me my tax due is $4,858. I'm going to go ahead and click next. And this is going to bring me to my payment method. I have the option of, again, to pay with my bank account, checking or savings, which is free. There's no fee for that. Or I can do ACH credit. This is where you will set up the payment with your bank, and the bank will initiate that payment to Connecticut Revenue Services. Or pay after filing, that's what it is, ACH pay after filing. For this demo purposes today, I'm going to go ahead and choose bank account. I wanted to pay with bank account. So I'll choose bank account, and then I'm going to go ahead and click next. And now it's pre-fill again for me with the dollar amount. All I need to do is just confirm the dollar amount. Here again, if you don't want to make the whole full payment, or you're not ready to make the whole full payment, you can reduce your payment here. But today I'm going to go ahead and make the full payment. Once I confirm the dollar amount, I have the option, the payment date. Again, here you can change your payment date up to the due date. So for example, I know my due date is June 2nd. I can schedule out my payment up to June 2nd, which is a very good thing. You don't have to pay today. I know I'm filing my return early, but I have the option of scheduling my payment up to the due date. All right, now I select my direct payment again here, enter my routing number. Once I enter my routing number, I know this Federal Credit Union is my bank. And now I'm gonna enter my account number. And this is very critical because you don't want your payment to come back. So take your time, enter the bank account number. You don't want your payment to get rejected. especially if you're like the last, last few days for the payment to the due date, and the payment comes back as, then you have to replace the payment, then there will be a penalty on it. Bank account, I'm going to do checking account. I have the option because I know I'm filing monthly returns. So I have the option of saving my bank account in MyConnect. So yes, I'll say, why not? Because I don't want to come back here and just type in all that information, because I'm so busy with my business. All I know, just come in here and just click on the save bank account, and I'm able to click next. All right. So now I am on the confirm terms and condition. There's some declaration here. The amount of direct payment, as you can see, will be $4,858 and will be initiated on April 16th of 2025. All I need to do is just simply enter my name again here for signature, and then I can go ahead and submit. Once I submit, I got a confirmation number, and you will also get a confirmation number in your email inbox, the email that you provided. That's why it's critical to have a correct email. Make sure your email is spelled correctly and is entered correctly in the system, because the department corresponds a lot with emails to you. All right, and it breaks it down here. It tells me what period, my dollar amount, my payment date, all of that good stuff here. We also provide a printable view for you, and the printable view will be the PDF copy. So you can always open this up and, make, some people like to keep paper copies for in their folder. You can do so by, summarize everything in here, all the different schedules that we just entered. The deductions, line items, all that good stuff, and the payment information. But don't worry, let's say if, again, you walk away from this, you can always retrieve a copy, and I'll show you quickly how to do that. So now I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I'm back on the summary screen. As you can see, it says my return is now submitted. I have the option of viewing the submission. If you would like to go back in and get a copy of that sales tax, you click on the More tab. Under the submission, click on search submission. There should be a hyperlink here that says OS. Okay, it is right there. And now I'm going to go ahead and click on the print. Once you click on that print, it's going to open up that PDF that I showed you earlier, and you can print a copy. And this will always be here. If it's not under pending, because we just submitted the return, it will be under the process tab. All right, so now I am back on my back on the summary screen here. And there's one more thing I do wanted to show you. So for example, your business is growing. I have one location, so now I wanted to open another location. So I'm in Hartford, I have one location. I wanted to open another location in Cheshire, Connecticut, for example. I'm gonna go there now. So to do that, you're gonna click on the More tab, click on Add Additional Accounts and Location, and you can do so by creating your new location. Now, you wanted to add that location to this profile. So, you have one username or one password. So you don't create two username and password because it's two different locations. And to do so, what you can do is you can scroll all the way to the bottom of the screen under the More tab. Scroll all the way to the bottom of the screen, and you go to the Access Management. And then this is where you're going to add your other business here. So it says add access to another business or individual income tax account. So once you click into this, you just follow the prompts, and then you can add your other tax type in here. So now you're managing multiple accounts under one username and password, and you don't have to have different username and password. And that's the cool thing I like about MyConnect. That's all I have for today. I'll show you how to register your business for the first time, get your Connecticut registration number. As you can see, your Connecticut registration number should be right here. Instantly, you will get your Connecticut registration number. Once you completed your registration application, you log into MyConnect. You should be able to see the tax type that you're able to file on MyConnect right away. Under the More, there's a lot of information there to maintain your account. Addresses, update your addresses, make sure you get the correct address with the department. And that's all I have for today. And thank you all very much for listening. And I will hand it over to Kelly.
Thank you, Randy. Great job. Good morning, everybody. My name is Kelly McLaughlin, and I am going to give you a quick tour of the DRS Taxpayer Education Center. The Taxpayer Education Center can be found halfway down the DRS homepage at portal.ct.gov/DRS. The Taxpayer Education Center was created through the lens of a Connecticut taxpayer. You can now select from a menu of options to get you where you want to be much faster. On our homepage, you will see there is a DRS tax events calendar. Clicking on the calendar
Hey,
will show you
good.
different events and webinars that you can register for or attend in person. Also on our left-hand menu, we have new business flyers, which you might find very helpful as you navigate your new business. We also have a place where you can click for live webinar recordings, where in about a week's time, you'll be able to find the recording of this webinar for your review. We also have e-tax tips, videos on how to navigate our website, and other tax tip videos. Videos will be added and updated often to reflect the most asked questions from taxpayers. The videos provide a quick and easy walkthrough of the topic presented. After today's webinar, you will receive an email with a brief survey. Please take a few minutes to fill out the survey because your feedback is appreciated and helpful to prepare for future webinars. Thank you, and now I will hand it back over to Catherine and Ida, who will participate in the question and answer portion of the webinar.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah.
Great job, Randy and Kelly. Thank you so much. So we have some
Alright.
questions. Ida, are you going to handle the first questions?
Yes, I
Okay.
will handle the first one. Question 1. If the customer I am selling to claims to be a tax-exempt entity, how do I know if they are, and how do I report the sales?
Okay. So if they're a tax-exempt entity, they have had to have made application to the IRS and have been provided an IRS determination letter acknowledging that the IRS has determined that they are a tax-exempt entity. They should be, if they're making a purchase from you, they should be presenting the appropriate tax-exempt certificate. We have a number of certificates, approximately 30 or more, on our website that they can access. They know where to file them, where to find them. They will print them out, complete them, and attach a copy of their IRS letter to it. And they will present the completed certificate to you. You will keep that in your file for your records in the event that you're audited. We will ask why the sale was not subject to sales tax. You will present the documentation to us. So they will know that they are tax exempt. They will present the appropriate documentation to you. Now, when you report that, you're going to report it as part of your gross receipts on your sales and use tax return. When you, as Randy Hariprasad showed you, you're going to report that as part of your gross receipts. Then you're going to answer the question, do you have deductions? Now, on the sales tax return, what DRS means by do you have any deductions? We are not, most of us understand the term deductions to mean expenses or subtractions on the federal return as expenses associated with our business. What DRS means by deductions is, do you have any subtractions of the gross receipts? Are there any sales or transactions that were not subject to sales tax that you need to subtract out from the gross receipts so that the sales tax return does not calculate sales tax on it? You would answer yes, because the transaction with the tax-exempt entity did not have sales tax calculated on it. So you would answer yes. You're reporting it as part of your gross receipts. Yes, I want to subtract that transaction amount out because I did not collect sales tax on it. And then you would look for the appropriate line description that reports as a sale to a religious or charitable organization. I don't have the line number memorized. I apologize. So you would look for that reason or description, and you would choose it, and you would enter the amount on the line that was associated with that transaction. It would be subtracted out of the gross receipts so that sales tax was not calculated on it.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If I am located in Connecticut and sell online to a customer located out of state, do I charge that state's sales tax rate and submit it to DRS when I file my sales tax return, or do I charge Connecticut's sales tax rate?
That's a very good question, and one that's very often asked. Okay, so if you are doing business in Connecticut and you're selling to an out-of-state customer who did not come into Connecticut to purchase the goods, then no, you do not charge sales tax on that transaction. So you're going to report it as part of your gross receipts. Yes, it is included in your totals. And then answer the question, yes, I have a deduction subtraction, meaning a subtraction to take. And then you're going to look for the reason or description for subtracting out, sorry, I can't talk today, for subtracting out that transaction. And in this case, it would be out-of-state sale. So you report it as your gross receipts, and then you would subtract out that transaction and use the subtraction or deduction code or reason out-of-state sale. You're going to subtract that out of your gross receipts because you did not collect sales tax on it because the customer did not come into Connecticut and take title or possession of the goods in Connecticut. You shipped it outside of Connecticut, so you did not charge sales tax in Connecticut. Now, you do not charge the other state's sales tax on it because you are not registered in that state to collect sales tax. If you were, for instance, if the transaction was to a Massachusetts business, then if you were registered in Massachusetts to collect Massachusetts sales tax, then you would have to report that sales tax to Massachusetts and pay it to Massachusetts. But as far as the Connecticut sale, you're going to report it as your gross receipts, and you would take a corresponding deduction and use the reason that it was an out-of-state sale and subtract it out of the gross receipts.
Thank you. If I did not make a profit after taking my expenses in consideration for a particular monthly period, am I still required to file for that monthly period?
Yes, you are. You're going to file a sales tax return if you've had no business, or you're going to file a sales tax return regardless if you made a profit or not. Your sales tax return is filed, has nothing to do with whether or not you've had a profit or loss for the business. You have to report all sales, even if you've had no sales.
Okay. If I am selling to another business who tells me not to charge them sales tax because they will sell the goods to their customers, does my business have to pay the sales tax from its own funds because I did not collect tax?
Another good question, and very often asked. If another business is buying from you, if Ida is selling and I am buying goods from her, because I am the business of selling durable goods, clothing, necklaces, shoes, and Ida is selling t-shirts. So I'm kind of in the same business of Ida. So I come to Ida and I see the t-shirts she's selling and I want to sell them. I would print out from the DRS website a resale certificate. It is a blank document that is specifically for this use. I would print out a resale certificate, fill in the name of my business, my Connecticut tax registration number, because I have to have a sales tax permit if I'm selling something. I give that to Ida along with a brief description. There's an area on the resale certificate that I'm filling out a brief description of what I'm buying from Ida, and I am signing it and I'm giving it to Ida. That tells Ida that I'm a business doing business. I'm buying these goods to sell to my customers. Do not charge me sales tax. It would be recommended that Ida call the Department of Revenue and verify that I'm a registered business, that my Connecticut tax registration number does have a valid sales tax permit. So please, if you do receive a resale certificate, don't hesitate to call the DRS and ask whether or not that business does have a valid sales tax permit. Okay. So no, you do not have to pay the sales tax because you didn't collect it, as long as you have a valid resale certificate. Now you would report that as a gross receipt on your sales and use tax permit, and then you would answer the question, yes, I have a deduction, AKA also known as subtraction, from my gross receipts because you didn't collect sales tax on it, and you would choose the line as sales for resale and subtract that out, because Connecticut only wants sales tax once from the end user, and that end user will be my customer when I sell it.
That's a good question and great response, Catherine.
Thank you.
I plan to sell online through a platform like Amazon, Etsy, eBay, etc., who supposedly collects the sales tax on behalf of my business. Do I still need to obtain a sales and use tax permit and file with DRS?
Yes, you do, because you have to have a sales tax permit to sell anything in Connecticut. If I'm selling through the marketplace facilitator, as Ida mentioned, then I still have to report my sales on my sales tax return as gross receipts, and then I would take a corresponding deduction. If I'm only selling through those platforms, I would take a corresponding deduction in the same total amount, and I would choose the description or reason as sales for resale through a marketplace facilitator. Therefore, there would be no sales tax collected and no sales tax remitted, but I would still have to file the sales tax return. Now, if I'm also selling, besides selling through Amazon or Etsy and those marketplace facilitators, if I'm also selling on my own through my own website, I still have to report all the sales, but I would only subtract out those through the marketplace facilitator, and I would be collecting sales tax on my own sales through my own website and remitting the sales tax through to DRS on my sales tax return.
Good. I closed my sales tax account for the business and now want to reopen it. Do I register all over again to get a new number with DRS?
No, you do not have to register all over again. As our colleague Randy explained, you can go right back into your MyConnect account, because even though you've closed a tax type, the good feature of MyConnect is it stays active. You can still log in with a username and password, go to the More tab, Taxpayer Update, reopen an account. And that's where you would reopen sales tax, pay the $100 permit fee again, and then you would use the same Connecticut tax registration number once you have your valid permit again.
Okay. How do I report goods and or services my business purchased but did not pay Connecticut sales tax on?
You would report it on your sales and use tax return. And that's why remember, use tax is the complementary tax to the sales tax. So I believe it's on line 4 or 6 on the return, goods or services purchased by your business subject to the use tax. Those are the goods or services that you purchased that you did not pay sales tax on because you might have purchased them out of state. So if, for instance, you purchased copy paper from Massachusetts, no sales tax was collected on it. It was shipped into you to Connecticut, and once it was shipped to you, now you have to pay the equivalent of the sales tax on it. So you would enter the value of the goods that you purchased, that copy paper. If it was $100, you would enter the value of the paper, $100, on the line of your sales and use tax returns. Goods purchased by your business subject to use tax, $100. The sales tax return would calculate the 6.35% sales tax on it, and you would therefore remit out of your own, the business funds, your own pocket, the sales tax, or the use tax rather, that would be due on that purchase of goods that you didn't pay sales tax on.
What if I have forgotten my password?
Well, that's easy. You click on the Forgot Password link, and then we will ask you your shared secret question. And if you answer that correctly, then we would allow you to reset your password.
All Right.
Okay. Ida, I'm going to ask you the next few questions.
Okay.
If you don't
Sounds
mind.
great.
How do I send a secure message through MyConnect?
Well, sending a message through MyConnect, it's pretty easy. You just log into your MyConnect account, open the More tab menu, locate the correspondence panel, and click the Send a Message hyperlink. Select the account, the period, message area, and category that you need. Enter the subject and the message. You can also add attachments to your message. Once you're satisfied with what you wrote, you can hit submit, and you will get a response back.
Very good. Can a business have multiple persons with usernames in MyConnect?
Yes, they can. Each authorized person should follow the steps required to create their own username for MyConnect.
Very good. Now, our employee who set up our MyConnect account for our business has left the company. How do I make sure the secondary logon I created for that employee is turned off so they can't access our MyConnect account any longer?
Well, first you will log into your MyConnect account. Go to Manage My Profile on the top right of your screen. Open the More tab. Click Manage Secondary Logon, and you can manage any secondary logon on the account.
Great. That's a question that's often asked of us. What if my email address has changed and it isn't the same as I set up in MyConnect when I first registered?
Well, if your email address have changed, you can create a new username using your new email. Because if you're trying to reset your password, for instance, or your username, an email will be sent to the email address you used to register. And if you don't have access to it, you can't reset your password or username. Therefore, you will have to create a new account if you have a different email.
Great. How do I close a text type in MyConnect?
First, you will log into your MyConnect account, open the More tab menu, locate the Taxpayer Updates panel, and click the Close Accounts hyperlink. From the Close Accounts window, identify the accounts you wish to close, enter the closure date in the Date of Closure column, click Next, review the accounts to be closed, then click Submit. You would receive confirmation of your request.
Sounds very simple. Good. What if I have an existing sales and use tax account and need to add Connecticut withholding because I hired an employee to work in Connecticut?
Well, to register a new tax type for an existing business, you will log into your MyConnect account, open the More tab menu again, locate the Taxpayer Updates panel, and click the Add Additional Accounts and Locations hyperlink. Click Next. Go to Registering for Additional Accounts. Select Income Tax Withholding. Answer the questions on the withholding registration and submit. You will receive confirmation of your request. And there is no fee for registering for a withholding tax account.
And how soon would that account be open for us?
It will be open right away. Once you hit submit, you will and go back to summary, you'll be able to see your withholding account.
Great. That's great.
Okay, and this concludes today's presentation. Good luck to all the new business owners or soon-to-be business owners in attendance today. It's been our pleasure assisting you in the area of sales tax. Please visit our website for future webinar postings. This webinar will be up on our website in about a week or maybe 2. You can also send us an email with any questions you may have at drs@ct.gov. If you have a MyConnect account, you can send us a secure message through your account, or you can call us Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. for any assistance. Thank you for attending today's webinar. See you another time.